I suppose what I want to talk about this morning, without even having had my bath, which I'm so grateful I have, and I'm so grateful for water, and I'm so grateful for electricity. And when you've lived in the woods for a few years, you really begin to appreciate. I live without electricity. I carry a lot of my water, and to make a cup of tea, I have to light a fire. Fortunately, a Frenchman came along and said, "Why don't you put your pots right in the fireplace, in the stove?" And of course, as soon as he suggested that, I got right on that right away. And I'm rather proud if you keep your wood properly dry and chopped up to the right size, you can make a cup of tea in between 5 and 10 minutes, which isn't bad. Now, that brought me back to the idea of ambition that was occurring to me this morning because I was trying to think, where does a man like Mr. Harper come from? I haven't read a bio, and I suppose it's entirely improper of me to ask these questions, but I certainly asked these questions to myself when, after leaving it up to Canadians to do their politics for a number of years, uh, you know, I felt like, my God, these people need some help, but do I have to sign allegiance to the Queen to become a Canadian citizen? I know I'm in the old Duke's registry, the old King's registry, so I'm not obliged to, you know, make any absolute commitments to this idea of lineage in kingship and power in kingship. As a matter of fact, I think Samuel warned the Jews that they really didn't want to have kings. Now, fortunately, we've had a queen for a number of years, and because I believe Mother Earth is the Empress of Space, I think it's much better that, in fact, the final say so uh, goes to the women, and the Aboriginal people, I think, have largely adopted that, and that's why I think the idea of a random selection of a clan mother from the constituency with the final veto. Sorry, boys, you can't do that. For good and proper reasons, of course, but nonetheless, I think that final authority should, after the none of the above option with the men and women's circles, which I've talked about many times as primary restructuring that we need, whether we do it with the remains of this current collapsing governmental system, or whether we use facilities which are available outside of that, but with cooperative engagement, especially a restructuring of the university systems and a move towards, what can I call it, um, a more intelligent form of management of our collective affairs, which of course is bottom up rather than top down. After all, when we consider the human animal, the primary focus really, the first chakra really is flight or fight, and it's the first one you have to learn to deal with, and that's the anal orifice, and not learning to poop yourself at the wrong time, and so on. Very, very dramatic first chakra encounter, and of course, it's the first one we as children encounter. Oh, something's going on down there. Oh, mummy finds that interesting. Oh, now I get some attention. Oh, maybe I should do it again. Oh, it doesn't happen that way. So there's a whole growth, and then of course you come up, and it's a very personal one. Uh, it's scatological, I think they call that. And then the next one up, of course, you've got the sexual one. Well, people do and can and spend their entire lives trying to figure out what that one's all about. And can occupy you and take you away from any sort of sanity for great long periods of time. Probably not so much for women, but for men, it is it's like having two brains. It's been described as, and the problem is you've only got enough blood for one brain at a time. Anyway, there's it's very problematic in these times where confusion and secrecy and so on and so on. But um, I won't stick there. I think the next one really is the will, and the will apparently, according to some of these people that know more about this, is centered in the ka, I think it's called, and that's your guts. Really, it's like after you've taken care of keeping clean or staying dirty as your choice, I suppose, and then you've pursued whatever undertakings are required to satisfy your whatever yearnings. And then, of course, you have the option of exercising or not, and of course that's the one that finally begins to reassert itself over the lower two. And then, of course, you begin to look up and you go, hello. I can see all this going down in the womb in a way. I'm pretty sure it does. You go, oh, hello, there's a drumming. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I always heard the drumming. Where was that? Oh, now it's somewhere in here. It was out there. It was mum, boom, boom, boom. And here's, boom, 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 boom. So you've got this, the rhythmic interplay here. And so, the conscious awareness begins to expand itself into a feeling space. And before you know, you've got fingers and touchy tasties and all the other good stuff that goes. And before you know it, something's going on because, the rocking is beginning to rock, and you sleep and you wake and you sleep and you wake. But there's something going on. You're going somewhere. And being in this conscious awareness in this life, it's a bit like that. It's like being in the womb of time. You have a vague idea of where you came from, which is sort of what I'm trying to express. I don't know if you call that poetry or oratory or just talking, thinking aloud. Channeling, some people say, well, maybe, I don't know. The door, as they say, is always open to that. But the intention, the intention really is to bring about individual and collective enlightenment. And I believe that's well within the grasp of humanity at this time, because we need to move forward into new quality of life, and we need to explore humor without cruelty or violence. We need to find real laughter, and real laughter is a product of a condition of joy, and conditions of joy are acknowledgement, awareness of happiness, and acknowledgement of that happiness as being a wonderful gift, and that we're all coming up to that now. It's not another war we're looking now. It's going to be a great peace. And oddly enough, I would say that it is the dignity of people like Havel and the dignity of the leader uh, of Iran, uh, and the dignity of the leader of Venezuela, and the dignity of leaders like Gorbachev, because Mr. Gorbachev, in my mind, was one of the really great and influential people, and I think that Putin respected Gorbachev and what Gorbachev tried to do, and these are the great peacemakers of our time. And we are moving into a new time. Egypt will come out of this with, hopefully, the electoral option which I proposed, because I think it would work very well there. It would acknowledge all the old great traditions. It would enable people not to hide those traditions, and to practice those forms of public worship in a way that uh, encourages all to keep with ourselves the understanding and appreciation of the divine in our lives. And that's the spirit of awareness, which is each and every one of us as our joy. So, joy in our times is possible, and we simply need to evolve our system. Come out of politics, come into cooperation, come into love and harmony. Stop fighting one another for ambition. Stop fighting one another to be top dog. Except we're all equal and different. We're all God's children. And that's the most amazing and powerful thing we can be. And when we recognize that in one another, then we'll begin to treat one another with the respect that we deserve. We cannot live in a racist, classist, elitist society. Certainly, there will be masters. There will be individuals of such profound skill that we will recognize them as being equal and different. Hey, more the merrier. Let's get this as a Mayday message. From here on in, peace will encompass the planet. We're moving forward into a new age, a new dawn of understanding. Surf's up, folks, and the tide has changed. Surf's up, folks. Let's live forever in peace. Let's make this the last Mayday of suffering. Let's make this the first day of a great peace. Thank you. God, I'm beginning to think it sounded like a bit like Churchill.